All right. Well, my name is Carrie Sivney, and I'm with Clear Learning Group, and we are going to jump right into this webinar on direct part ordering in ServiceDesk. ServiceDesk has had several integrations with some of the parts vendors for a long time. However, we've made some improvements to a couple of them recently, so we thought this would be a great opportunity to go over this functionality for anybody who doesn't know how to do the direct ordering in ServiceDesk. Of course, you guys are welcome to pop up any questions you have during the webinar into the Q&A, and we will address those at the end. If you see something at the beginning that needs some help, just again, just leave a comment and we'll jump right on that. All right, so we're getting right into it. The first thing that we need to do is do the basic setup, which is actually incredibly simple. Probably most of you have some of this stuff already set up, but just in case, we're going to go over what that looks like. Essentially, you need to update your vendors. So if you've been with ServiceDesk for a long time, you may not have this vendor list.csv file, which is now used to manage your vendors. You may be using the Rolodex to manage your vendors. If that's the case, you're going to want to update to this new vendor list.csv. The way that you do that is to go to Parts Management in your menu. And then at the very bottom of the section under Parts Management is Vendor Management. And if this is the first time that you've clicked on that and you don't have the vendor list.csv file, ServiceDesk will offer to create it for you. Otherwise, it will simply ask you if you would like to open your vendor management file. Once you have that file open, you're going to see that there's column headers, and you're going to want to make sure that you are adding in specifically the information that is in columns F, G, H, and I. So column F is going to be the username that you use to sign into your parts vendor's website. Then column G is going to be the password that you use to sign into their website. And column H will be the average number of days that they ship to you. So if you do 2-day shipping, you would want to put 2 in there. If you do ground and it takes longer, you would want to put that information into there. ServiceDesk is going to utilize that information to try to help determine what your ETA is for the part when you do the direct ordering. For column I, you're going to want to indicate at what time of the day you need to order in order for the system to meet that days to ship. So in other words, if it takes 2 days to ship, but in order to have that 2-day shipping, I need to make sure that my order is placed by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. ServiceDesk is going to take that information. If you order after 4, then ServiceDesk is going to adjust the ETA time based on the days to ship that you have in column H. And then finally for V&V, for whatever reason there in column A, Glade has the system hard-coded to recognize V&V as V'(V). So you're going to want to make sure that your abbreviation for V&V is V'(V). If it's VV or something else, some variation of that, it won't be recognized. So you'll want to make sure that you've got that up to date in your vendor file as well. And with that very brief explanation, we're going to go ahead and do a demo because that's literally all the information that ServiceDesk needs in order for you guys to do the direct ordering for Encompass and V&V. So we're going to go ahead and close this little PowerPoint here. And we have ServiceDesk open. So from ServiceDesk, when we need to place a part order, we're going to go to our parts management screen, and then we're going to go into F8. And when we order F8, open F8, we have our screen with all of this stuff in it. And of course, this is where we're going to want to review by status. In this case, it's items needing inquiry order, because these are the parts that we need to order, meaning either we've triaged this information and gotten into the system that way, or your technicians have indicated when they've gone out for a first visit, hey, I need to order these parts. However, that information is getting into your system, this is where it ends up when the first initial request is being made. From this screen, in order to do the direct ordering, whether you've gone through and you've pre-identified who you're going to order this from, either using the filters, or if you've maybe you've gone through and you've identified cost, you can do whichever method of that you've done in advance. In order to trigger the send option, you're going to do a control plus right click on this right hand 2/3 of this info band. So this first third here on the left, this green section, pertains specifically to the part request. So when the request is made, specifically from, let me show you here real quick, specifically either via this little form from a job record, or again, via a post visit report, that is the information that you're viewing that's on this left-hand side. Everything that's on the right 2/3 pertains specifically to placing the order and documenting the request of getting this part into your system. So we're going to do a control plus right click on this on the right 2/3 of this part band. And you'll notice that I did get a little pop-up there where the system was warning me that, hey, this is something that you normally stock. And that is okay. I can go ahead and order that part regardless if that's what I need to do. But that is a system warning that says, hey, you might not want to order this. Just FYI, you do have this thing. You can see here in this warning, it says it doesn't appear that I have enough to satisfy, or it says I do have enough to satisfy it. If those warnings are bothersome to you, if you right click on this header, the colorful header at the top, there is an option down here at the bottom where it says quantity of times within session to be warned. And if you select that, you can actually limit the number of times during this process that ServiceDesk pops up to alert you to a warning, whether it's something with the stocking inventory or items that you have on the parts hot list, or information regarding Whirlpool parts hot list. So if any of those messages are bothering you significantly and you have the authority and understanding to disregard them, you do have an option there to indicate how those warnings can be given to you less frequently. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and go through these items here. And persistent ordering, and we're going to order these specific items here from Encompass. So with all those items highlighted, we're simply going to go ahead and hit enter on our keyboard and choose to do the direct ordering with Encompass. And the system is going to check with Encompass to see whether or not those items are available or not. And then proceeding that they are, it's going to go ahead and place the order. If any of these items were in LA or substituted, it would have popped up with a little message asking me how I wanted to proceed based on that information. So for example, if I'd indicated that a part was Medea, for example, and it could have been in their inventory under Medea or Insignia, then the system might ask me which of those two parts did I want to order. Or it might have asked me to confirm that the part was the correct one. It could do that if the description of the part in ServiceDesk is different than the description of the part on Encompass's side. But in this particular case, everything matched up and it didn't give me any of those warnings. Instead, it just let me know that there was 6 items successfully ordered with Encompass. If I were to go to Encompass's website now, I would find this part order, this 12-64,000, and I would be able to see this order on order with Encompass. We can also see now that ServiceDesk went ahead and added this information into the system. So first of all, it says that it was ordered directly online, the date that we did it, as well as the wholesale cost from Encompass. Additionally, we've got the confirmed date, the expected date, and we went ahead and the system popped in its system generated PO number. So all of these have been updated. And if we go ahead and right click here on the job reference, we can actually see that right here is now a documentation in the job record that we confirm those particular parts were on order, as well as the ETA. All right, so same concept with V&V. So if we go ahead and we do a control right click, again, warnings about parts in stock and why are we ordering them and whatnot. So if you do get those frequently, it might be an opportunity for you to consider whether or not you're stocking enough inventory in your office stock. Maybe you want to put something on a technician's truck that you don't normally stock or you hadn't in the past, but now since you guys are special ordering a lot, it would make sense to start doing so, or whatever. So those are just informational messages. Again, we're going to have these items highlighted and we're going to go ahead and hit enter on our keyboard. And when we do that, we're going to, in this case, we're going to choose V&V. This direct order integration with Marcone, we are going to work with Marcone to make some corrections to it. And the same with this one here with triples. But for now, we'll go ahead and select V&V. And oh, let's see what happened here. I got a little error message here. It doesn't like, let's see here real quick what it doesn't like. I promise it works. Invalid. Oh, it says I have an invalid part number. It doesn't like one of my part numbers. This functionality with the V&V, though, it works the same way as far as when you do the control right click. Let's try this. There we go. So same thing happens as long as everything matches as it should. And maybe those parts just aren't available from V&V. That's a possibility. Same thing happens. So we get this item successfully ordered at V&V. It gives you your V&V order number, and then it indicates in ServiceDesk what the cost is and what PO number it was purchased off of. So those are examples for the direct ordering. If you haven't used that in the past, it's quick, it's easy. It doesn't require any intervention on your side to communicate that information to your parts vendor. And then the last one that we want to talk about, in case people don't know that it exists, is a Marcone ordering process. However, this is one that's been around for a really long time, but not everybody knows that it exists. So for the Marcone ordering process, we're going to go ahead and do that same control right click process to select these items that we want to order through Marcone. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this out of here. V&V won't mind because it's a test account. We're going to go ahead and select all these items. And to place this order with Marcone, what we're going to go ahead and do after these items are highlighted, we're going to hit enter again. Only this time, instead of selecting this direct order integration option, we're going to choose this standard data format. And when we choose the standard data format, the system is going to ask us who we want to send the order to, in which case it's defaulting to Marcone because that's what we've indicated. We'll go ahead and click OK to that. And then the system is going to ask us to save this file. So we can save this wherever it's convenient for us. We can save it in our downloads folder. I like to save stuff in my downloads folder because it's an easy central place for things to be accessed. We'll save this as order for Marcone. And then the system is like, okay, cool. Do you want to look at it real quick before you do anything with it? We can go ahead and do that. So this is basically the information that gets sent to Marcone. It's super simple. It's literally just the part numbers, the quantity that you want, who the vendor is, and what the ServiceDesk reference number is specific to that particular part. ServiceDesk also offers, when you do this process, to create a file so you can have a printed piece of paper if you need one that shows what was included in the file. I'm going to go ahead and decline to do that at this time. And then the system is going to ask, do you want to record transmission of this request? We want to say no. And the reason we want to say no is because if we were to do that, Service Desk would go ahead and insert the information here in this line regarding when we ordered it, what the confirmation was, and all that information about the fact that we placed the order, but without actually having all of this extra information. So instead, what we would do at this point is leave these items in this status, still in the items needing order inquiry. And then what we would do, and I do not have a Marcone account, so I can't show you exactly on Marcone's website what this would look like. But basically, you're going to log into open with, there we go. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to log into Marcone's website and you're going to go to your account. And then under the account option is a place where you can import a shopping cart. You can upload a file into Marcone's website. When you do that, it'll open those items and put them into the cart file, and it will include your Service Desk reference number in the description of each part. So you can go and you can look at your cart, and it's going to show all of these particular items that you loaded in from the Excel file that you created. At that point, you can add other items into your Marcone shopping cart, like if you wanted to do truck stock items, or if your technicians had been putting stuff that they needed in the cart at that time as well. All of that information can go into the cart all at once before you place your order. The key piece to this is that before you place your order, so you're going to go through the process with Marcone, you're going to review the information, you're going to go to the shopping cart, and Marcone's going to show you, I think, usually it's two different options for shipping your items. It's either, it can come from one location, or it can be split up between shipping locations. You've got two different options to ship. When you choose that, right before you actually place your order, at the bottom of the screen, there's a link to download your shopping cart. So if you download that shopping cart from Marcone, what you're going to get is a file that looks like this. So this file that you get from Marcone is going to have this order date, order number, PO number. The order date and the order number are blank, and that's fine. They don't matter for this particular process. Then you're going to have your Service Desk generated PO number. This is going to come from the file that we created in Service Desk. It's going to have the quantity, so the number of parts that you needed. It's going to have, again, the make, the part number itself, and then what the part cost, along with Service Desk reference number. We don't need you to do anything with this file. We just need you to download it and save it somewhere that you can reference it. With that file referenced, what you're going to do, again, from this screen, so we're in the items needing order inquiry screen, we're going to click on this import shopping cart button, which is going to ask us for our file. By default, it's going to be set for this Marcone cart file type, but Marcone doesn't create their Marcone, their shopping cart files as cart files any longer. Now they're actually comma delimited. So you're just going to change your file type to comma delimited, and you'll be able to see your sample cart file, in this case, my sample cart file. I'm going to go ahead and say OK and click open on that. And as I do, Service Desk asks me, okay, well, which vendor are we collecting these parts from? So I'm going to put MAR here because that's my abbreviation for Marcone. If you have different vendors, or maybe you've got more than one Marcone account, you would just want to put the one that was relevant for this particular order. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then what Service Desk is going to do is it's going to read through that CSV file and match it. As it goes through, it's going to read through and match each of these items. So what it's expecting me to do is manually insert my expected date. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 2 and the letter D for days to indicate 2-day shipping on this. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And then it's going to read down through the file, looking for each of these different things that I'm finding. Now, you might have noticed that I hit enter and it didn't move or turn this particular item gray. Remember that when an item turns gray, it means that it no longer fits in this category anymore. So this particular evaporator motor is gray because it's not in the items needing order inquiry category any longer. Now that I've placed the order and I've indicated a confirmed and an expected date, this part now fits in the on order awaiting arrival category. So it's gray here. But when I hit enter, the reason that it didn't skip down a line is because the system added in this EX. So when you order parts from Marcone that have a core, there's actually two different lines. If we go back to this Marcone import, there's actually two lines in here. So there's one for the main part and there's one for the core. And as ServiceDesk reads through the file, it adds this extra number onto this part, indicating that there's a core. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to right click and make that daughter band for the core. And now we can go ahead and have the core and that actual part. And then we can see that the system will go ahead and keep reading through. So we can go ahead and do 2 days, 2 days, 2 days. Here's another one that's got a core return. So once again, I can go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to right click. I'm going to make that daughter bound so that I've got my core. Oops, did I do it in the wrong spot? I did. Anyway, so you can just move through this process. Alternatively, if you don't want to do it that way, you can go ahead and finish going through here. And then when you're all done, what you can do is you can right click on the ones that have the EX and add your daughter band that way. So whichever way you want to do that through that process, Marcone indicates the cores by adding this EX on them. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to show you guys, those are the 3 part imports that you can do right now. If anybody's got any questions on that process, by all means, let me know. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that we showed you guys today is the new bulk import process, because there's going to be instances where, and I'm going to go in here and back out a couple of these things that we just put here into the system. Just so you guys can see what it looks like. So in the last couple of updates to ServiceDesk, we've added in the capability to import from either Marcone or from your own generated file information directly into ServiceDesk, rather than having to go through this process where you're updating this information line by line. So there's, yes, Greg, at this point, Mark is correct. This is only going to ship to one address. Yeah. So in this method with the Marcone one, and part of the reason that so what I would recommend if you are in a situation where you need to have stuff shipped to different addresses, I would recommend that you use the filters. So like, for example, if you needed to drop ship to your technician, maybe you've got a technician who's out of town and you're like, okay, I'm going to drop ship him his stuff for next week. Then what I would do is I would come into here and I would use these filters. So for example, I can do a filter and I can filter by technician, so that when I'm done doing that and I do the all items need an order inquiry, I'm only seeing the items that I need to drop ship directly to that customer or to that technician or to that customer. And then I can do that same process of sending it and importing it. When it comes to V&V and Encompass, at this time, the thing that they are only shipping to one address via the direct order, and they are shipping specifically to the address that you have set up here in your settings form. I don't know if we're going to have different options in the future for doing shipping with like drop shipping directly to customers with Encompass or V&V. Right now, their API doesn't allow us to do that. But hopefully, as we continue to move forward with these integrations, we'll be able to offer that as well. All right, but let's step back just a second here to this other process. So if you were going to do this process right now, every single one of these items needs to be managed individually. You're so welcome. Thank you. You have to go into each one of these and manage them individually. So in the last, I want to say 3 releases to ServiceDesk. So all this month, we've made first the initial release and then a couple of little improvements to allow you to do a bulk import process. Basically, all of these fields that we just filled out, you can actually do a bulk import process to now. And how you would do that would be to, let me show you the sample fields, that's not the right one. There we go. Okay. Is basically ServiceDesk is going to allow you to basically free form an Excel spreadsheet, or even it could even be done in Google Sheets, because the end result is going to be a CSV file. So which spreadsheet program you use isn't gonna matter. But ServiceDesk needs this reference number, quantity, and part number. As long as you have these 3 fields in your system, ServiceDesk will use those to match information, and then it can update any of these fields over here. So confirm date, expected date, received date, invoice number, all of this information can be updated via this import. And the really cool thing about this process is that it will not only update via import stuff that it is in your F8, but it will also update information that is in your archive special order parts. Meaning that, for example, some users that have had ServiceDesk for a long time are hesitant or to come in, or reluctant, or it's a love-hate relationship. Basically, when you have to come into here to manage and indicate that things have been returned or that you receive parts credits, because each of these things has to be gone into, and you have to come in and manually change each of these into credit received status if that's the case. So now what you can do with this import that's available is you could take that ServiceDesk reference number, the quantity, and the part number, and you can go ahead and add in over here under hold location. You could type in credit received the way that ServiceDesk is expecting it to be entered, so without vowels, and update credit received along with, if you wanted to, the credit memo number, and you can import that information directly into ServiceDesk. This is all available to you guys at the Rossware blog. If you're not familiar, the Rossware has done a ton of work on the Help Center. So we're going to go to rossware.com and click here on Help Center. And then I'm going to do a search here for bulk import. And right here, ServiceDesk special order bulk part update. And there's information in here step by step on how to do the bulk import process, as well as which fields you can match on and update. So there's a whole bunch of information in here about how you can update and match fields, because obviously, like if you've got a core band and you have a regular part band, as you import that information, you want to update the core band. You don't want to update the part band where your technician installed the original part. And so there's a place right here where you can tell ServiceDesk to either match on the band index, which means the core band would be number 2, or you can ask the system to match on the request type. So in other words, where we put CORE, where we put core in as the request type, it'll match on that field. So it'll only update your cores. So there's a lot of flexibility in this new file for being able to import information into ServiceDesk. But as an example, I'm going to show you how that works. So I have this sample import field, or sample import file, that I'm going to go ahead and use to show you guys how this works in ServiceDesk. So I've got my reference number, my quantity, and my part number. And the things that I want to update is the receive date and the sell for. So if we go ahead and we open up our F8, and we'll go back to that items needing order inquiry again. And we want to update, actually, let's go back to, let's look this up by service desk invoice number. So 66746. So we've got these two parts right here that are waiting to be received. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to import the receive date and the sell for number for these four different parts. So the way that we would do that is we're going to go to parts management, and then we're going to go to the special order receive shipment. And we're going to go ahead and choose this bulk import option. And it's going to ask us, okay, cool, which file are we using? So we're going to use our sample import. Again, this is a CSV file. We'll go ahead and click OK. And really quickly, you can see that the system, this is a super small database, so it did it super fast. But basically what we have here is this bulk import message over here on the left-hand side where it says 4 of 4 found. The system is going to go through your database, first matching stuff that's in the current F8, and then looking and matching for stuff that is in the archive special order parts. As it does the process, in the lower left-hand corner here where it says wrote 0 entries to parts database, that's because I haven't confirmed that I want to proceed forward yet. So it hasn't done anything because it's waiting for me to give it permission. If it were looking in the archive, it would tell you how far back in your archive it was currently looking. So in other words, if you've been with ServiceDesk for a long time and you have 10 years worth of data, it will 100% go backwards through 10 years worth of data and looking for the records, trying to do a match. However, you can hit cancel partway through that process. So if you see that it's gone back to say 2023 and you're like, hey, that's far enough, you can hit cancel and it will write anything that it found a successful match for. And anything that did not successfully match, it will kick it out into an exceptions file where you can manually review it and then go update that record yourself. So for example, if we've got a duplicate where we found maybe we didn't put in that extra piece of information as the matching field for a core band. And so when it went through, it found the core band and it found the original. And it was like, I don't know which of those you want to update. It would kick that out as an exception and not update either record. Alternatively, maybe it searched back and it just, maybe it found a quantity of 2. And you indicated a quantity of 1. So maybe we ordered 2 initially and we only received 1. And so it was looking for a match. It didn't find it. Again, it's going to kick it out and say, I can't find this. So that's the really cool part about this process. And then if we stopped the process too early, maybe we stopped it right after December of 2024. And so we didn't go back far enough. Maybe we needed to go back to October. And there was some that it just didn't find because we didn't let it go back far enough. Those would also get kicked out as they didn't match and nothing would get updated. But in this case, we were able to successfully find 4 records that we were looking for. And then if we look here at this little message, ServiceDesk will tell us that it's going to update 4 records. It tells us how those files were how those records were located. So it says right here, located based on reference number, part number, and quantity. If I had used an alternative match field as well, it would have indicated what the alternative match field was. So before you do the import, you can stop and go, oh, hold up. Did I do this right? Did it match what I expected it to? And then the next thing it tells you is it tells you exactly which fields based on the match that it's going to update. In this case, it's telling me that it's going to update receive date and it's going to update sell for. And then do I want to proceed? If I say no, the whole thing backs out, nothing happens. If I go ahead and say yes, then in this case, I got this little message. So when we check those parts in, they happen to fulfill the needs in ServiceDesk for all of the parts to be in on that particular job. So it's asking me if I want to go ahead and reach out to this customer to book the job or not. In this case, I'm going to say no because this is test data. Oh, it looks like we got more than one. But if that wasn't the case, if those messages didn't apply, those wouldn't come up. Also, if you have a job that has an appointment scheduled, but and nothing needs to change, Service Desk will just go ahead and change the job status from waiting for parts into currently scheduled, and there will be no intervention needed by you as a user. And now if we go ahead and go back into parts management, we'll go ahead and go into F8 and we'll search up those specific Service Desk record numbers. So we'll go 77746, and we can look and we can see right here, Service Desk went ahead and updated the receive date and put it in there as a sell for price of $1, which is exactly what we asked it to do. If we go ahead and right click and open that job record, we can go ahead and see that, yep, sure enough, Service Desk put a little documentation in here that it checked in the parts. And because we told it to leave the job record alone, it's still sitting here and waiting for part status. But had we said to go ahead and alert the customer, it would have emailed them. If we'd said to put it into working to schedule status, it would have done that just as you would expect it to during any other process of checking in parts. So that's the new import process is super powerful. It keeps a record of the changes that it's made, so you can always, if you're like, wow, why did it change what it did? You can go back and you can look. But it does do several points where it stops and it asks you to confirm if that's how you'd like to proceed forward. Okay, that is the majority of what I had. I wanted to just show everybody this new import and show you guys the new options that we have. I mean, they're technically old options with Encompass and V&V, but they weren't working correctly. And we worked really hard with both Encompass and V&V over the last several months to make sure that those are working as expected. So if you happen to use either of those two vendors, then those are awesome tools that are available to you. The tool that's available, the shopping cart import with Marcone, has been available for a really, really long time, but I find that there's a lot of people that don't know or realize what it does, especially because when you click here on the import shopping cart button, it looks like it's not doing anything because when it puts your focus here in the received box, or excuse me, in the expected box, you may not realize what it's doing, that it's waiting for something from you, and so that's I think something that happens when people are messing around with this. And then of course we would like to do direct ordering with Marcone again, and any other vendor that you guys are doing work with, so Reliable or whoever. By all means, put pressure on your PDs and ask them to work with us. You can send them my confirmation information or my contact information, or you can send them to Rossware, and we'll work with them to get this direct ordering capability put into place. Anyway, that's kind of it that I have, and we'll open the floor to questions. If anybody has anything else that they'd like to ask about special order parts, we'll see if we can answer them. No questions? Nobody? I'm that good? All right. Give you guys just a few more minutes. Also, I don't know if anybody was aware. Oh, aw, thank you, Felicia. I don't know if anybody knew, if you are doing like quick just a couple part orders or anything, you could come into here too. Let's say you place an order on the website. The shortcut for here is N for now, and then N for confirmed, right? And let's say we're expecting this in 3 days. So let's do 3 in the letter D. And let's say we put in our own PO number. When we hold down Control and then click, Service Desk will actually copy that information from one record to another. So if you have been doing that process manually and you didn't know that that was available, just so you know, it is. That also works in the receive screen, so the on order awaiting arrival. So you can put in the invoice number and have that pop down from record to record as well. And again, that's when you're in the editing boxes, hold down Control and then click to the next box down, and it'll copy that information from one record to the other. It will not populate and copy down cost. The system is expecting that obviously the cost is going to be unique. One other thing probably that would be useful to know too, actually, I probably should have mentioned it, about the import option. So when you do the import, you might have noticed that cost is one of the options, as is sell for. So if you fill out this sell for box, ServiceDesk will presume when you do that import that you want to overwrite anything that is already in the sell for field. So if your technicians go out and they quote a job, and they do an estimate or whatever, and they say that the part is going to cost X number of dollars, and they put that into the system, it'll look like this. It'll have a cost over here in the sell for box, even though the rest of this is going to be all empty. So if you do the import, actually in most instances in ServiceDesk, but specifically, I want to make sure it clear that if you do the import, if this sell for is blank and you've included cost, ServiceDesk will use its normal method to calculate what the sell for should be. Meaning that if it's a warranty job and it's set up appropriately with a warranty quick entry template, the sell for will be 0. If there's no sell for and it's a COD job, ServiceDesk will do its normal markup to calculate the sell for. But if you include cost here in this import and there is no sell for, ServiceDesk will calculate it for you. So that's a really nice advantage. As far as if you just put the cost in, ServiceDesk will calculate it where there isn't any, and it will leave the sell for in place. It will not overwrite it if the technician has provided a sell for retail price when he ordered the part. So the reason for that is obviously if a technician has quoted a customer $205 and they've given them a printed out receipt, it's a little bit of an egg on your face situation if you have to go back to that customer and say, oh, well, your tech way underquoted you and it's actually X number of dollars. So yes, Travis, we will be posting this video on YouTube for everybody to have access to. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your support for Rossware. I appreciate your support for Clear Learning Group. And if there's anything we can do for you guys, by all means, reach out to us. This video will be on YouTube as soon as it's available. We'll post links to it, both on our social media. So if you're not following Rossware on social media, you should. We will also post this in the ServiceDesk users group on Facebook. And we, as always, appreciate y'all for being here. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, everybody.